Jesus said, "If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out." He wasn't exaggerating to shock us. He was warning that secret sin can destroy a soul long before anyone sees it.
Look what he's done, can you see his grace? He set me free, so fills this place. To all my friends.
In the last episode, Jesus exposed anger as the root of murder. Now he turns to the next command. You shall not commit adultery. Most people think that's only about actions, but Jesus goes deeper, to the private thoughts that nobody else can see. This teaching isn't comfortable, but it's crucial. By the end of this study, you'll understand why Jesus confronts lust so directly, what he really meant by cut it off, and how purity begins long before temptation starts. We live in a world that markets desire every second. What used to hide in darkness now flashes across our phones. People call it normal, harmless, private, but Jesus calls it dangerous. The problem isn't that desire exists. God created it. The problem is when desire leaves its boundaries and becomes obsession. Lust doesn't just damage the body, it damages the heart. What the text says, Matthew 5:27-30, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body go into hell." What it meant then: 1. You have heard, but I say to you. Again, Jesus uses his signature phrase. He's not rewriting the law, he's revealing its full intent. Adultery wasn't just physical betrayal, it began in the imagination. Jewish teachers already warned against temptation, but Jesus takes it further. The thought itself, when welcomed and nurtured, breaks the command in seed form. He's addressing the inner courtroom of conscience. 2. Everyone who looks with lustful intent. The key phrase is pros to epithymsai, to look for the purpose of desiring. It's not a passing glance. It's a deliberate look that turns people into objects. In the ancient world, lust was tolerated for men but condemned for women. Jesus levels the ground. No gender gets a pass. He dignifies both by calling lust sin, not instinct. His audience would have felt the weight, not condemnation for being human, but conviction for misusing what's sacred. 3. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out. Hyperbole was common in rabbinic teaching. Jesus isn't calling for literal self-mutilation. He's demanding decisive action. The right eye and right hand were symbols of strength and skill. He's saying, remove whatever channel leads you into sin, no matter how valuable it feels. In a world where sin is casual, Jesus speaks like a surgeon. Better to lose something temporal than to lose yourself eternally. 4. It is better that you lose one part than your whole body go into hell. Again, he mentions Gehenna, the burning dump outside Jerusalem. It was a visible picture of decay and fire. Jesus uses it to show sin's final outcome, destruction if left unrepented. This isn't scare language, it's mercy in warning. He's saying, don't toy with what will kill you, cut it off before it consumes you. What it means for us. 1. Lust begins long before the screen. It starts with a look that lingers, a fantasy rehearsed, an unchecked curiosity. Temptation isn't sin, entertaining it is. Practical step. If something triggers your imagination toward impurity, interrupt it within seconds. Close it, delete it, step away. Every second you delay gives sin roots. 2. Purity is not repression, it's redirection. God designed attraction, but he designed it to lead to covenant, not consumption. The culture says, follow your feelings. Jesus says, guide them. You can't stop birds from flying overhead, but you can stop them from building nests in your mind. Practical step. When temptation hits, pray instantly. Lord, teach me to see people as you see them. Lust objectifies, love dignifies. 3. Cut it off means make it costly. Jesus' imagery of tearing out an eye or cutting off a hand means you deal ruthlessly with the source. If your phone, your feed, your app leads you into sin, change it, block it, or remove it. People often ask, isn't that extreme? Yes, and that's his point. If sin is deadly, half measures don't work. Story moment. A young man once confessed that every time he tried to quit watching explicit content, he'd delete the app, but reinstall it days later. Finally, he sold his smartphone, bought a simple flip phone, and filled his evenings with community service. It sounded radical, but a year later, he said, "For the first time in my life, I feel free." That's what Jesus meant. 4. Sin spreads by secrecy. It dies in the light. Shame isolates. The enemy tells you, hide it, no one will understand. Jesus says, bring it into the open. Confession isn't humiliation, it's liberation. James 5:16 says, confess your sins to one another and pray for one another, that you may be healed. Practical step. Find one trusted believer or mentor. Tell the truth once, fully, and ask for accountability. Darkness loses power when truth enters. 5. True purity is more than avoiding sin, it's loving holiness. Jesus doesn't want behavior modification, he wants heart transformation. When your heart loves God, sin stops looking good. Psalm 119:37 says, turn my eyes from looking at worthless things, give me life in your ways. That's the prayer of a disciple who wants more than self-control. He wants a clean heart. Why this matters? Sexual sin promises freedom but delivers slavery. It takes seconds to fall and years to rebuild. That's why Jesus' warning sounds severe, because the stakes are eternal. Every private battle shapes public integrity. Every secret victory strengthens your witness. Purity is not old-fashioned. It's revolutionary in a culture that worships pleasure. The world says the problem is repression. Jesus says the problem is corruption. He's not against desire, he's against distortion. The same desire that builds a marriage can also break one if left ungoverned. So Jesus goes straight to the heart. He knows the battle isn't on the body, it's in the imagination. And that's where holiness must begin. When he says, tear it out, he's not calling for self-harm. He's calling for self-denial, the first mark of discipleship. As he'll later say in Matthew 16:24, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Cutting off sin isn't losing life, it's finding it. Let's review. The law said, do not commit adultery. Jesus said, do not even entertain lust. He showed that sin starts with a look and grows through imagination. He calls for decisive action, not moderation, but removal. He teaches that purity protects purpose. So ask yourself, what needs cutting off? What boundary do you need to build before temptation starts? Holiness is costly, but sin costs more. Jesus doesn't ask for perfection overnight. He asks for honesty and obedience today. If you surrender the hidden places, he'll replace guilt with peace and shame with strength. That's the freedom of a clean heart. Keep watching the next episode. Jesus moves from purity of desire to integrity and commitment with divorce and integrity.